Our scripture this morning is taken from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. Also, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" Then said I, "Here I am, send me."
Happy Sabbath, everyone. Okay, we're good. So in March, Layla and I had the opportunity to go on a mission trip with our school, and so we figured we'd show you guys the results of what we did and some of the adventures we had. Is this gonna work? Is this on? Okay. So on Thursday, March 10 at 9 a.m., which is really early for me, I feel like, we started out for Raleigh for a 3-hour bus ride to the airport, and this was our group. There was 26 of us. And it's including all the adults too. I counted, there was 1 senior, 8 juniors, 4 sophomores, 7 freshmen, and then the 6 staff. So it was pretty full. We sat at the Raleigh airport. Wait, do I have another slide? Or not? Oh, whatever. Okay, cool. We sat at the airport for 4 or 5 hours before going to Seattle on another 4 or 5 hour flight. So this was some of the view over Seattle. What? Okay. We were at the Seattle airport for about an hour, and before we got on a 2-hour flight to Anchorage. Next slide? Yeah, so this was arriving into Anchorage, and the beautiful snow I saw outside the hotel window. After arriving in Anchorage, we had a 12-hour layover, and because we arrived at 1 a.m., we got to stay at a hotel before heading back to the airport around 10:30 that next morning. Next slide, I think. Yeah, so some of these were the mountains that we saw outside the Anchorage airport. We got a lot of time there, so we looked at the beautiful view. We left Anchorage about 1 p.m. and had an hour-and-a-half flight to Dillingham, Alaska. So, next slide. So this was coming into Alaska, or into Dillingham, Alaska. Dillingham is actually, there's no roads that go into Dillingham. Like, you can only get there by airplane. So it's...
And they're also in the wintertime, since there is no roads, a lot of people there own snowmobiles. So Anchorage to Dillingham can be by plane or by snowmobile, which is way longer.
Right, and a whole lot colder. Okay, next slide. Okay, so that's some of us getting off the plane. It was really cold. We were not expecting it. A lot of us weren't. I sort of did, but I had a pretty light jacket on. One of the guys was in a shorts and t-shirt, and didn't even have a jacket. His jacket was packed away in his big suitcase that we had to still unload. So it was quite cold. Next slide. And these were some of the mountains on one of the excursions we went on to. So next slide again. Okay, so this is the church. We arrived at the SDA church and school on Friday afternoon. Took some time to familiarize ourselves with the cold and with the location. We looked at the gym to see what work we had to do with it, and then we set up to get ready for a kids program that we were going to be doing that night and the next day for Sabbath school and church for some of the kids. I think I have another slide. Next slide. No. Okay, yeah. So this was the kids program that we had. I really had no idea they were doing a kids program. It was kind of sprung on me. And because I was the musical one of the group going, they were all like, can you pick some songs? Can you set a team up? I didn't even have a guitar. Like, there was nothing. Thankfully, the pastor had a guitar that I was able to borrow, and somebody thankfully brought a ukulele. But it was a lot of fun. We had some music, and then we did a Bible verse, and then we did some Bible stories with the kids. I think there's another slide next. Yeah, this was our speaker, speaker for the kids. He helped out with a lot of the construction stuff. His name was Pastor Deal. And yeah, we had a whole lot of fun. The first night, we only had one girl show up. And we were a little disappointed, but it was like, okay, we'll just go with it. And that next morning, the kids came and we had two. We doubled. And then by that evening program, we had four. So we doubled again, and then we ended up actually getting four more. So we ended up having 8 by the end of that program. So we just kept doubling it. It was great. I think there's another slide. Okay, so after the church service with the kids, we joined the adults in the sanctuary for what they called a sing-spiration. And they just sang songs for like an hour or 2 hours. It was absolutely a blast. Our group just went in the sanctuary and sat down, and then they had a prayer, and then everyone grabbed their instruments. And one of the ladies, who was actually the school teacher, she sat down at the piano and was like, I don't really want to play. Does anybody else play? And pointed to our group, and everyone pointed at me. So I was like, honestly, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I got up and played with them, and we had a whole lot of fun. We actually had a guy who played guitar there who was part of the original Heritage Singers, right? Is that right? So I thought that was pretty cool. I think he lived in Anchorage, but had come to Dillingham for a week or something like that. So it was a lot of fun to sing with him. So after that, we got up and they had a couple that were planned special music. So we had picked a song, and so that's us doing that right there. And I'm playing the piano with that. I don't know why I'm not smiling. I can't figure it out. I think I was just really focused on not messing up. But it was a lot of fun anyway. There wasn't a whole lot of people, but they made it feel like it was full. Next slide. Yeah, so this was the sanctuary during that program, and it was a whole lot of fun. But pretty small. I mean, a little smaller than this, I think. But it was nice. All right, next slide. So, yeah, she can do this.
So on Sunday, we started work on the construction of the mission trip. So we had to paint the gym and put trimming along the roof and the walls. Later on in the week, we actually ran out of paint, but by grace of God, we got some more paint for the rest of the gym to finish. Not only did we repaint the gym, but we worked on their basketball hoops to, make it nicer, and did some of their benches since they were looking pretty rough. We didn't get to fully finish reflooring them, but in April they put in the new floor. So this is the result. Next slide. Yeah.
So it was a lot of work to get that blue strip on there because they couldn't tape it because of the way the walls were or something.
We had to paint the top and bottom, so we had to go in by hand to do that strip. And a friend of ours, she was really into it. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, very artistic, so she just went all in. It was great. Okay, next slide. Okay, so on Sunday night, the pastor took us out in an attempt to see the Northern Lights. But when we ended up getting there, it was way too cloudy. You couldn't see anything except barely the road in front of you. Wasn't snowing, but it was